that he was going to snap my neck because of the way that he was jerking my head around. And he had all of his weight on me, and he had all of his weight on my body, and he was jerking my head around with his hand in my hair.
Carroll County 911.
Ma'am, I killed my boyfriend in self-defense.
What did you kill him with?
A loaded gun in the house.
Can you tell me where the gun is right now?
The gun is in the house. I laid it on the bookshelf.
Where are you?
I'm standing about 10 feet from his dead body.
Okay, are you sure that he's dead?
He's dead, ma'am. He's completely dead.
Okay. And how long ago did you shoot him?
I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, not even that long. Like
10 or 15 minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Shayna Hubers.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder.
Guilty! The woman who shot her boyfriend because he was about to ditch her for a Miss USA contestant sobs as she is convicted of murder. And there were audible gasps in court as the jury decided Shayna Hubers' sentence today.
We, the jury, fix the defendant, Shayna Hubers' punishment for the offense of murder at life imprisonment.
As the judge polled the jury,
Is this your verdict?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Hubers turned to make eye contact with her family. Shayna Hubers shot her 29-year-old boyfriend Ryan Poston 6 times. Prosecutors said she was in a jealous rage because he was pursuing a relationship with Miss Ohio, who testified for the prosecution.
How did he strike you?
Funny and smart.
Ohio! Audrey Bolte was second runner-up in the 2012 Miss USA pageant. She testified that she met Ryan Poston on Facebook and he asked her out. She was waiting to meet Poston for a late-night drink when he was shot by Hubers, who found their Facebook messages setting up the date. Hubers drove over to Poston's apartment outside Cincinnati where she confronted him. She claimed she shot him in self-defense.
I grabbed the gun and I shot him.
The victim's mother spoke after the sentencing.
Ryan believed in the justice system, always, and it has not failed him.
There's a room in Kentucky where time doesn't pass the way it does for you and me. Fluorescent lights that hum. Concrete walls that absorb sound. A door that locks from the outside. Inside that room, among hundreds of others just like it, there is a woman who once couldn't stop talking. A woman who explained herself. Narrated herself. Performed herself for anyone who would listen. The cameras loved her. The interrogation rooms. The courtrooms. The headlines. But the cameras left. And what remains is this, the after. The endless, silent, suffocating after. Welcome to Crime and Whispers, where we don't just tell you what happened. We show you what it cost. If stories like this matter to you, stay with us. Subscribe. Because some truths don't make noise, they settle. This is the story of Shayna Hubers. Not the crime. Not the trial. But what came after both. The part where punishment stops being an event and becomes a life. October 12, 2012. Highland Heights, Kentucky. A 911 call comes in at 6:37 p.m. The voice on the other end is calm. Almost conversational. She says she's just killed her boyfriend. 6 shots. Self-defense, she explains. When police arrive, they find Ryan Poston, 29 years old, attorney, son, brother, dead on his kitchen floor. And they find Shayna Hubers, 21 years old, waiting to explain. The interrogation room footage would later become infamous. She talked about Ryan's insecurities. His nose. How he'd always wanted it fixed. She said she gave him the nose job he always wanted. She laughed. Adjusted her hair. Asked if she looked okay. She didn't just confess. She performed. Psychology has a term for this, impression management. The compulsion to control how others perceive you, even in moments of crisis. But Shayna wasn't managing an impression. She was constructing an identity. The smart one. The misunderstood one. The one who had no choice. And for a while, it worked. The 2015 trial was a spectacle. Cameras in the courtroom. Her testimony stretched across days. She explained Ryan's temper. His control. How afraid she'd been. The jury didn't believe her. Guilty. Murder. 40 years. But a juror had lied during selection. The conviction was overturned. She got what performers crave most, another show. The second trial came in 2018. By now, the footage had been shared millions of times. Her face was everywhere. This time, there was no technicality to save her. Guilty. Again. Life imprisonment. Parole eligibility after 20 years. And Shayna, composed, careful Shayna, was led away in handcuffs. The cameras followed her as far as they could. And then they stopped. Because here's what true crime documentaries don't tell you, there's a moment when the story ends for everyone else. The verdict is read. The sentence handed down. The credits roll. But for the person in handcuffs, the story doesn't end. It just stops being interesting. If you've ever wondered what happens when someone's worst moment becomes their only identity, stay with this story. And if it makes you think, let us know in the comments. Kentucky Correctional Institution for Women sits in Pewee Valley, about 20 miles from Louisville. Red brick buildings from the 1930s. Chain-link fences topped with razor wire. Guard towers watching everything. Inside, there are roughly 900 women. Shayna Hubers is one of them. Inmate number 264793. The intake process strips you of everything. Your clothes. Your jewelry. Your name, effectively. You're photographed. Fingerprinted. Searched, invasively. You're given a khaki uniform. Cheap canvas shoes. A bedroll. You're assigned a cell. Maybe 6 by 9 feet. Concrete walls. Metal bunk. Stainless steel toilet sink combination. This becomes your world. The daily routine is mechanical. Unvarying. 5:30 a.m., wake to a buzzer. Stand for count. 6:15 a.m., breakfast. Oatmeal. Powdered eggs. Coffee that tastes like regret. 7 o'clock a.m., work assignments. Kitchen. Laundry. Factory work for 25 cents to $1.50 per hour. Shayna, educated, articulate, might spend her days folding industrial linens. Or scrubbing floors. Or standing at an assembly line until her hands ache and her mind goes numb. 11:30 a.m., lunch. Count again. 1 p.m., back to work. Or programs. GED classes. Counseling. Anger management. These aren't optional if you want parole someday. 4:30 p.m., dinner. Count. 6 p.m., recreation. 1 hour in a concrete yard. 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., free time. TV in the common area. Reading. Writing letters, if anyone's still picking up. Or just sitting in your cell, staring at the ceiling. 10 p.m., lights out. Final count. You lie in your bunk. The prison never gets quiet. Someone's always crying. Arguing. Screaming in their sleep. The fluorescent lights in the hallway stay on all night. You close your eyes. And you wake up tomorrow to do it all again. And again. And again. There are no mirrors that matter here. No audience to perform for. Shayna is not special. She is not fascinating. She is a body in a system designed to process bodies. And the system is very, very good at what it does. In the years following her 2018 conviction, the world moved on. The pandemic hit. Prisons went into lockdown. 23 hours a day in your cell. 4 months. Imagine being confined to a 6 by 9 space for 23 hours. Every day. 4 months on end. Investigation Discovery aired Signs of a Psychopath. It featured the interrogation footage. That nose job line. It aired once. Then disappeared into the streaming void. Shayna's case, once a phenomenon, became a footnote. A clickable thumbnail in an algorithm suggestion queue. But inside Kentucky Correctional Institution for Women, none of that matters. Because Shayna is inmate 264793. And institutions don't remember. They process. In June 2018, Shayna married another inmate. Unique Taylor. A transgender woman serving time on unrelated charges. No white dress. No flowers. Just paperwork. Signatures. A brief acknowledgement from a chaplain. Some saw it as love. Others as manipulation. But maybe it was simpler, an attempt to be someone in a place designed to make you no one. An attempt to have one person who knows your name. The letters Shayna wrote in the early years have slowed. Visitors became rare. Media requests stopped. What's left is this, a woman in her early 30s, sitting in a cell, with nothing to perform and no one to perform for. Just time. An ocean of it. Stretching forward into years she can count but cannot imagine. This is the part most documentaries skip, the after. The endless after. If you want more stories that go deeper than the crime, subscribe to Crime and Whispers. Shayna Hubers has been incarcerated since October 2012. That's 4,748 days as of January 2025. In that time, the world outside has transformed. When Shayna was arrested, Barack Obama was president. Instagram was barely 2 years old. Now, entire cultural movements have risen and fallen. Technology she wouldn't recognize. The world kept spinning. And she stayed still. Inside, the changes are different. The food, high in sodium, low in nutrition, takes a toll. Weight gain. Lethargy. The stress, constant, unrelenting, manifests physically. Headaches. Insomnia. The lack of sunlight causes vitamin D deficiency. Depression. Bone density loss. Women in prison age faster than women outside. Studies show it. Their bodies show it. Shayna entered at 21. At 34, she's somewhere in the middle of her incarceration. And the mirror, when she has access to one, shows someone she doesn't quite recognize. There's a psychological process that happens in long-term incarceration. Researchers call it prisonization. The gradual adoption of the prison's culture as your own. At first, you resist. I'm not like these people. I don't belong here. But slowly, you adapt. You learn the unwritten rules. The hierarchies. The informal economy of favors and debts. You learn that showing emotion is dangerous. So you stop. After a decade, something else happens. You start to forget what life outside felt like. The feeling of freedom, the ability to walk out your door whenever you want, becomes abstract. Like a story someone told you once. Studies on long-term inmates show predictable patterns. Learned helplessness, the belief that your actions don't matter. So you stop trying. Emotional numbing, the inability to feel joy or sadness with intensity. Everything flattens. Diminished sense of self, when every decision is made for you, you forget how to be yourself. Institutional dependency, the prison becomes comfortable in a perverse way. Because it's predictable. The outside world becomes terrifying. This is what's happening to Shayna right now. She's not the person who entered prison in 2012. That person, vain, verbose, desperate to be seen, couldn't survive here. So she's become someone else. Quieter. Smaller. More compliant. The system calls this rehabilitation. But it's not transformation. It's erasure. Shayna has 7 more years until she's eligible for parole. 2,555 more days. And even then, parole is not guaranteed. The parole hearing will be brief. A panel. A fluorescent-lit room. They'll ask questions. Do you understand the severity of what you did? What have you done to address the issues that led to this crime? Why should we believe you won't reoffend? And Shayna will have to answer. Carefully. Authentically. Convincingly. And here's the cruelty, Shayna's crime was performance. She performed victimhood in the interrogation room. She performed fear on the witness stand. And now, to earn freedom, she must perform authentic remorse. But how do you prove authenticity when authenticity itself can be performed? The board might grant parole. Or they might say, not yet. Come back in 5 years. And she'll return to her cell. And the count will start again. Let's go back to the interrogation room. October 12, 2012. Shayna sits across from detectives. She's been read her rights. She's waived them. She wants to talk. She tells them about Ryan's temper. His jealousy. His control. She says he grabbed her during an argument. Frightened her. She says the gun, Ryan's gun, was just there. And it went off. 6 times. But even as she's telling this story, something else is happening. She's also talking about Ryan's looks. His nose. How he hated it. She says, I gave him the nose job he always wanted. The detective pauses. That's not something a terrified victim says. That's satisfaction. Later in the interrogation, Shayna adjusts her hair. Asks if she looks okay. She mentions that Ryan was seeing someone else. A Miss Ohio contestant. She says, I'm prettier than her. She's not crying. Not trembling. She's explaining. Justifying. In court, her defense argued battered woman syndrome. Fear-based decision-making. Shayna testified for days. She described a relationship where Ryan controlled her. Made her afraid. She cried on the stand. Her voice shook. It was compelling. But the prosecution had receipts. Text messages showing Shayna initiated contact, constantly. Obsessively. Messages where she begged him not to end the relationship. Testimony from Ryan's friends that he'd been trying to break up with her for weeks. That he was planning to take someone else to a social event because he was done. And Shayna knew it. Forensic analysis showed the trajectory of the bullets. The first shot hit Ryan while he was seated. The second while he was standing, trying to flee. The third, fourth, fifth, and sixth while he was already down. This wasn't self-defense. This was execution. So here's the question, did Shayna believe her own story? Psychology has a term for this, cognitive dissonance. The mind's inability to hold 2 contradictory truths. I am a good person. I killed someone I claimed to love. Those 2 statements cannot coexist. So the mind rewrites one of them. He was dangerous. He was abusive. I had no choice. I'm the victim here. And if you repeat it enough, to police, to lawyers, to juries, to yourself, it becomes real. Not factually real. But psychologically real. The truth you can live with. But here's what happens in prison, there is no audience for your story. No jury to convince. No cameras to perform for. Just you. And the facts. 6 bullets. A locked door. A man who wanted to leave. A woman who wouldn't let him. Shayna's intelligence, her greatest asset, becomes a prison within the prison. Because she knows. She's smart enough to know what the evidence shows. Smart enough to understand what the jury believed. But she's also smart enough to have constructed a counter-narrative so elaborate that it feels true. And now she's trapped between those two realities. For years, Shayna was the smart one. The articulate one. The one who could explain herself out of anything. She was pre-med, psychology major. Dean's List. She was going to be someone. And now she's inmate 264793. Her intelligence doesn't get her special treatment. Her carefully constructed identity means nothing here. The other inmates don't care about her story. They've all got narratives. Justifications. Shayna's not special. And that, more than the confinement, is what destroys people like her. The realization that they're ordinary. In the early years, maybe Shayna wrote letters maintaining her innocence. Maybe she gave interviews, explaining her side. But the years pass. And the certainty fades. Did I really fear for my life? Or did I just want control? Was I protecting myself? Or was I punishing him for leaving? These questions don't have clean answers. And in the silence of a cell, 3,000 nights and counting, they echo. Here's the cruelest part, Shayna wanted to be unforgettable. And she is. But not as a victim. Not as a survivor. As a punchline. The girl who joked about the nose job. That's her legacy. And she has to live inside that. Every single day. Alone with the person she's become. And the person she was. And the unbridgeable distance between them. This is where it gets uncomfortable, not because of what she did, but because of what it reveals about all of us. If this story is making you think differently, hit that like button and share it. Stories like this need to be told carefully. Kentucky Correctional Institution for Women. A Thursday. Or maybe a Tuesday. Shayna Hubers wakes to the 5:30 a.m. buzzer. She's 34 years old. She stands for count. A guard walks past. Marks a clipboard. She is accounted for. Breakfast. Oatmeal. A bruised apple. She sits with women she's known for years. They don't talk much anymore. What is there to say? It's easier to stay quiet. Work detail. Today, laundry. Industrial washers that roar. The smell of bleach and sweat. She loads sheets. Folds them. Stacks them. Repeats. 4 hours. She earns 40 cents an hour. By the end of the month, maybe $50. Enough for toiletries. Some snacks. Afternoon program. Cognitive behavioral therapy. The counselor asks her to reflect on her triggering events. Shayna gives the answers she's supposed to give. I felt rejected. I felt worthless. The counselor nods. Takes notes. Shayna wonders if she even believes what she's saying anymore. Or if it's just words. The right words. The ones that get her closer to parole. Recreation. She sits on a bench. Watches women play cards. The sky above is vast. Open. She can see it but can't touch it. A reminder. Back to the cell. Free time. She could watch TV. Read. Write a letter. But to who? Her family. They write less and less. They've moved on. They have to. So she lies on her bunk. And she stares at the ceiling. The same ceiling she stared at for 13 years. This is her world. And it will be for at least 7 more years. If Shayna is granted parole in 2032, she'll be 41 years old. She will have spent her entire 30s incarcerated. But parole isn't guaranteed. Statistics show many violent offenders are denied on their first hearing. Come back in 5 years. If that happens, Shayna will be 46 before her next chance. Then 51. 56, 61. At some point, she stops being a cautionary tale and starts being an old woman in prison. Her youth, the thing she was once so vain about, completely gone. But let's say she's granted parole. She walks out at 41 years old. The world has changed. Technology she doesn't understand. Everyone she knew has moved on. She'll have to find a place to live. A job. Who hires convicted murderers? She'll have conditions. Curfews. Restrictions. One mistake and she's back inside. And after 20 years institutionalized, freedom doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like chaos. Studies show long-term inmates struggle profoundly with re-entry. Depression. Anxiety. Some even want to go back. Because prison, for all its horrors, is predictable. Safe. But there's a strong possibility Shayna never gets out. The parole board looks at the nature of the crime. Premeditated murder. 6 shots. Media coverage. They look at remorse. And how do you prove remorse for a crime you spent years claiming was self-defense? The board might decide she's still a risk. Still manipulative. Still the woman who joked in the interrogation room. And they'll deny her. Again. And again. Until she's too old to matter anymore. Ryan Poston never got old. He's frozen at 29 years old. Forever young in photographs. His mother still sets a mental place for him at holidays. His friends still wonder, what would Ryan be doing now? Married, probably. A father. A successful attorney. He doesn't get to do any of that. Because on October 12, 2012, someone decided he didn't get to leave. And now that someone sits in a cell. Aging. Forgotten by most. Remembered by some as a villain. By others as a cautionary tale. But mostly just, here. Existing. In a kind of limbo where time passes but life doesn't. Is this justice? I can't answer that. But does suffering, decades of it, equal justice? Does erasure? The slow grinding away of a human being? Or is it just, this? The long quiet. The machinery of punishment. Turning and turning. Until there's nothing left. Because here's what we don't talk about when we talk about life sentences, they're not about rehabilitation. They're about disappearance. Making someone so small, so quiet, so invisible that they cease to matter. And Shayna Hubers, who once couldn't stop talking, who once needed to be seen, is disappearing. One day at a time. One count at a time. 1 year at a time. Until she's just a name in a file. A number on a roster. A body in a cell. And maybe that's the real punishment. Not death. But this. The slow, silent, endless dying. While still breathing. Ryan Poston was 29 years old. He wanted to be a lawyer. A father. A man who mattered. And he will always be 29 years old. That is the sentence that never ends. If this story stayed with you, if it made you think about justice, consequence, and what it means to live with what we've done, leave a comment. Subscribe to Crime and Whispers, because we're not here for the shock. We're here for the truth. And sometimes, the truth is the quietest thing in the room.